Okay, time to move on to our next few indicators, which address the presentation of new material after the topic and objectives have been introduced and the students are hooked on the lesson. The next step in effective teacher-directed instruction is to use a variety of strategies to present new material. Clear explanation, variety of vocal tones, eye contact, and enthusiasm. To be more specific, let's look at the indicators in action. All teachers explain directly and thoroughly. We're going to model for you what we mean. Let's go right into the classroom.
Mercantilism, mer, and then lism. Yes, okay? So when I ask you, don't tell me the M word. The M word, Miss Blumenthal, no. I'm not taking M word. Okay? Mercantilism is defined as a national gain. In the word national is the word
nation.
So this is about your person getting money, and this is about the nation getting money, okay? Now, if I'm making money as a person, don't you think my nation probably gets money too? What do I pay as a citizen?
Taxes.
Where do those go?
To the nation.
So if I'm getting really rich, doesn't my country also get really rich too?
Yeah.
It does. Is that happening right now in America? Are people losing their jobs?
Yeah.
People struggling a little bit today?
Mm-hmm.
What does that say about America?
No, we're not really.
Are we losing a little bit of money? Might this be a hard time for not only people but also the nation? So these things are both very related, right? The richer the people are, the richer the nation is. Now the difference is, what's going to sort of distinguish these words is how I make my money is very different than how the nation makes its money, right? I might make my money by selling doorknobs. I might. Or shoes. Doorknobs or shoes, okay? The nation makes its money off of doing maybe what from me? Getting my, maybe charging me taxes. They can do other things too. All right, everyone get mercantilism?
Couldn't be any clearer, could it? Ready for more? Let's listen to these teachers discuss why being thorough and giving directions is important.
It's really important to explain because you never know what you're going to get if you don't explain or model thoroughly. And then you end up spending more time going back to revisit what you want them to do.
We could say this is a 1 by 3 array because 1 times 3 is 3. Well, would it matter if I had turned my paper and done it this way?
No.
Still the same array, right? 1 times 3. So I don't need to sketch this array again. We're just saying 1 times 3 is the same as what?
3 times 1.
3 times 1. That doesn't change, and that's because of that commutative property of multiplication. But we are going to take a look at another number. Let's look at this number, and someone might get this. What about if I give you the number 20?
That's bad.
What's one way we could build an array for the number 20?
A lot of times when I'll give the directions, I'll state them, but then even though they may be sitting there looking like they understand, I don't necessarily know if they took that information and are ready to apply it. So I'll just say, okay, first, what did I want you to do? Second, what did I want you to do? And in that, I can really assess whether they know what they're supposed to do or not.
So you're explaining clearly and directly. Let's talk about some other ways that you're engaging your students. All teachers maintain eye contact. Making eye contact with your students builds rapport and trust with them. It lets them know that you respect them and that you are genuinely interested in them and their learning. It also lets them know that you're paying attention, and they'd better be too.
He's an architectural hero? Oh. I don't know. You tell me why you think he is. Okay. You remember that? Yeah. Moses is, and he smoked the, right? When he smoked the rock and he made, like, he got water out of it. Okay. Yes.
Wonder Woman has a correct visible and it's a positive and a negative, so it's going to be a negative.
Okay.
He said 20 divided by 2. I mean, he said negative 2.
So you want to rephrase it?
My question is that the only one? Am I done with 20?
No.
Raise your hand if you can think of another way.
You tell us to come prime or composite.
Yes, and talk to your...
In addition to finding out your students' interests and linking it to their learning, eye contact shows your students that you care about them.
For me to stand above my students, I feel like I would be talking down to them. I would not want someone to stand above me and talk down to me. When I talk to my students, I'm going to be talking on their level, talk directly eye to eye to them and let them know that I care for them. When they come to school, it is about them. I am caring for them. I have them at heart and their best interest at heart, and that I am teaching them and talking to them. So I always look at them when I'm speaking to them, and so that is why I try to maintain eye contact with them at all times.
Maintaining eye contact with your students, as you saw here, helps to create meaningful relationships. What else can you do to engage your students and build that positive learning environment? Let's take a look.
I feel like there's a conversation that needs to be had with the students, whether your classroom is big or whether your classroom is small. I feel like I don't want to be talking at them. I want to really have a conversation with them. I feel like every time I say something, I have to check, did you hear that? And I just feel like that's really important.
Shirt with buttons and a tie and shoes. These Indians are running around unreasonably naked. How many of you are running around naked today? Why? Because it's not reasonable according to our society.
I like to move around the classroom. I don't think it's only dependent on your voice. I want to go across the room and yell at a kid from a distance and be close to them and see if they're writing. And I feel like it's a full engagement. Eye contact, voice, tone, I think body language.
Our next indicator, all teachers speak with expression and use a variety of vocal tones, takes us right into full engagement. Here we go.
And of course, in the end, you have that resurrection or that rebirth, okay? That's kind of the journey of a hero. And if you think of The Lion King, were you thinking of that?
Yeah.
Yes, you were. I knew you would be thinking of The Lion King. It fits perfectly here, does it not?
As a teacher, it's very important to excite the kids, and I kind of realized that the kids really respond to you well if you come with a great approach to them. So if you are speaking respectfully to them, they will speak respectfully back to you. If you give them a lot of praise, then they will respond to you by doing extra work and working harder. So I speak to them just like I speak to you expressively because I want that response back. So if I'm excited about something, I'm hoping that they're going to be excited about it too.
I am a pretty theatrical person in general. So when I was, in high school, I hated that teacher who was that monotone and everything sounded the same. And when you are a student and you're going from class to class for 8 hours and people are just talking to you and talking to you, you're going to start toning some people out. So I try to engage my students and keep them involved in the class by doing something a little different. I try to have inflection in my voice and tone, and I try changing accents. Every class period, I will let the students choose a different accent. Some of them are good, some of them are awful, but they're engaged. They are enjoying listening to me. Sometimes, make an idiot of myself, but they're still listening to me and they're learning. And of course, I will use that as classroom management because that student who seems to go off task or is not paying attention, I'll stand directly beside them and speak very loudly in that, accent or that tone that they just cannot stand to make them, pay attention even more. And so I just kind of use it as an advantage in my classroom and for classroom management and to keep them engaged at the same time.
Finally, prompting and cueing will close us out of the presentation aspect of teacher-directed instruction. As you will see in a minute, this practice really sets students up for successful learning. Let's first take a look at the use of prompting and cueing in action. Then we'll hear teachers describe why they use it in their instruction.
It's important for me to prompt the kids because I'm training them what to look for on their own. So when they're with me, I can give them the clues to look for, so then they can take that strategy from me and apply it as they become a more independent reader.
I think it's important to make sure that you're prompting and cueing the kids throughout the entire lesson to make sure that you have constant engagement by the majority, if not all, of the children, and to make sure that you're checking for understanding during the lesson to make sure that what has been modeled to the children, that then they're carrying out.
Using prompting, cueing, and purposeful questions focuses students on what is to be learned and activates their prior knowledge. From vocal tones to eye contact to prompting and cueing, these practices are critical in the presentation of new material. They help to keep students interested, engaged, and connected to their learning. Now we're moving to the end of teacher-directed instruction, the point at which teachers find out what students have learned by giving them an opportunity to rehearse their learning. At this point in teacher-directed instruction, you'll summarize the new material and confirm whether or not students have grasped it. To do this, you may even return to the hook that was used at the beginning of the lesson. We've isolated 4 summary confirmation practices that should be used in this phase: reteaching, review, and summary. Let's see and hear a bit more about them. All teachers reteach when necessary. As a teacher, reteaching is an ongoing practice. Just as there are teachable moments, so are there reteachable moments. Often they are unplanned, seize the moment opportunities. They may not be on the schedule or included in the lesson plan, but you recognize the need and create the opportunity for it to happen.